Clara Bennett's knees slammed into the Texas dirt. 300 miles she'd walked carrying her dying boy, and her body picked this rancher's gait to finally quit. 4-year-old James burned like a furnace in her arms. The world tilted, went dark at the edges. Somewhere above, her boots crunched on gravel, heavy, deliberate, coming closer. Through blurred vision, she saw a man's outline against the brutal sun. Tall, broad-shouldered. His shadow fell across her face. Clara had just enough breath left for 3 words: "Save my boy." Then the darkness took her. You want to know if that rancher saved them? If a desperate widow and a broken cowboy can build something real from nothing but need, stay till the end. Hit subscribe and drop a comment telling me what city you're watching from. I want to see how far Clara's story reaches across this country. Clara came to on a kitchen table. No, not her. James was on the table. She was in a chair beside him, and a stranger's calloused hand was holding a tin cup to her cracked lips. Drink. Slow. The water hit her throat like salvation. Clara choked, coughed, tried to grab the cup. I said slow. The man pulled it back. You'll make yourself sick. Clara's vision cleared enough to see him properly. 40, maybe older. Face carved from hard living, sharp jaw, straight nose that had been broken once, eyes the color of storm clouds. He wore range clothes, dusty, and worn sleeves rolled to show forearms roped with muscle and old scars. My son. Fever's high. Getting willow bark in him now. The stranger nodded toward the table where James lay still, too still. When'd he take sick? 3 days. Bad water from a creek. I didn't know. Stop. Not cruel, just firm. Blaming yourself won't fix him. How long you been walking? 2 weeks, maybe more. His jaw tightened. From where? Kansas. Kansas. He said it flat like she'd claimed to walk from the moon. That's 300 miles. I know how far it is. Clara tried to stand. Her legs buckled. The stranger caught her elbow, eased her back down without a word. His hands were gentle despite the roughness. Name's Nathaniel Cross. This is my ranch. He moved back to the pump, refilled the cup. You got a name? Clara Bennett, Widow Bennett, and that's James. Something shifted in Nathaniel's expression. Gone quick, but Clara caught it. Recognition, maybe. Or pain. Well, Mrs. Bennett, your boy's in a bad way. Needs rest, clean water time to fight whatever's burning through him. You got anywhere else to be? No. Then you'll stay till he's well. It wasn't a question. Nathaniel brought the cup back, watched until Clara drained it. Then he pulled a brown bottle from a high cupboard, measured liquid into a spoon with surprising precision. This'll taste like hell, but it'll bring the fever down. He moved to James, slid one hand behind the boy's head, careful like handling something precious. Come on, son, just a swallow. James's throat worked. He coughed, whimpered. That's good. That's real good. Nathaniel's voice dropped to something almost tender. You're doing fine. Clara watched this stranger gentle her boy and felt something crack open in her chest. Why are you helping us? Nathaniel didn't look at her. You need help. That's not an answer. It's the only one I've got right now. He soaked a cloth in cool water, laid it across James's forehead. When'd you last eat? Yesterday, day before. I don't remember. Nathaniel crossed to the stove, ladled stew from a pot into a chipped bowl. Set it in front of her with a spoon and a heel of bread. Eat. I can't pay. Did I ask for money? No, but then eat before you fall over. The stew was simple beef, potatoes, carrots, but it tasted like the finest restaurant meal Clara had ever eaten. She forced herself to eat slow, even though her stomach cramped with hunger. Forced herself not to cry over the simple kindness of hot food. Nathaniel worked while she ate, checking James's pulse, refreshing the cloth, coaxing more medicine between the boy's lips. Efficient. Methodical. Like he'd done this before. You know medicine? Clara asked. Enough to keep cattle alive. Lost too many hands to fever over the years not to learn. He paused, hands stilling on the cloth. Lost more than cattle, if I'm honest. A wife? Yeah. The word came out rough. Sarah, 5 years back. Clara set down her spoon. I'm sorry. Ancient history. But the way he said it, tight-clipped, told Clara it wasn't ancient at all. Some wounds didn't heal. They just learned to live quiet. My husband died 6 months ago, Clara said. Influenza. Took him in 3 days. Nathaniel finally looked at her. Really looked. That why you were walking to Texas? I was walking away from Kansas. Clara's hands clenched around the bowl. Thomas's brother Marcus, he's a banker. Respectable. After Thomas died, Marcus decided I wasn't fit to raise James alone. Said a widow woman with no income couldn't provide properly. He was going to petition the court for custody. That legal? Legal enough if you've got money and connections. Clara's voice went hard. I had neither, so I ran. 300 miles with a 4-year-old. I'd have walked 3,000 if that's what it took. Something passed across Nathaniel's face, respect maybe, or understanding. He turned back to James, but when he spoke again, his voice was quieter. I know what it's like to lose someone you can't save. When Sarah got sick, I tried everything. Every doctor within 100 miles, every remedy anyone suggested. Didn't matter. She died anyway. His hand rested on James's small chest, feeling the rise and fall. I won't let your boy die. That's a promise. You can't promise that. Watch me. The fever held through the night. Clara must have dozed in the chair because she jerked awake to find the kitchen dark, except for a single lamp. Nathaniel sat across from her, his face half-shadowed eyes on James. You should sleep, he said without looking at her. There's a room upstairs. I'm staying with my son. Figured you'd say that. Nathaniel disappeared into another room, came back with a quilt. Draped it over Clara's shoulders without ceremony. Least keep warm. The quilt smelled like cedar and dust, like it had been stored away for a long time. Was this hers? Clara asked. Sarah's. She made it the winter before she died, never got to use it much. Nathaniel settled back in his chair. Seems right, someone should. They sat in silence for a while. The lamp flickered. Outside, coyotes yipped in the distance. Can I ask you something? Clara said finally. Go ahead. Why do you live alone? A ranch this size seems like you'd have family, hands at least. Got 3 hands. They live in the bunkhouse half a mile out, work the cattle. As for family. Nathaniel's mouth twisted. Had a wife, had a baby on the way, lost them both. After that, didn't see much point in filling the house with people. That's lonely. Lonely safe. Is it? Nathaniel looked at her then, and in the lamplight his eyes were old, tired. Caring about people means losing them eventually. I learned that lesson hard. Figured I wouldn't learn it again. And yet here you are, helping strangers. Yeah. He said it like an accusation against himself. Here I am. James stirred, moaning. Clara reached for him, but Nathaniel was fast, her hand already on the boy's forehead. Still burning, he muttered, soaked the cloth again, wrung it out. Come on, son, fight. Clara watched the way Nathaniel's hands moved, practiced, gentle, sure. You wanted children. With Sarah. She was pregnant twice. Lost the first at 5 months. Second one came early, lived 2 days. Sarah held on for a week after the birth, but the fever got her. Doctors couldn't stop it. Nathaniel's voice went flat, emotionless. The tone of a man reciting facts to avoid feeling them. So yeah, I wanted children. Wanted a family. Wanted a lot of things I didn't get. I'm sorry. I can't imagine. Don't. He cut her off. Don't pity me. I've had 5 years to make peace with it. Have you made peace? Nathaniel's hands stilled. No. But I learned to live anyway. That's close enough. Clara pulled the quilt tighter. Marcus used to tell me I was weak. That grief made me useless. After Thomas died, I believed him for a while. But then I'd look at James and know I couldn't quit. Couldn't let Marcus take him. So I kept moving. That's not weakness. That's the opposite. Walking 300 miles with a dying child. Loving someone enough to try, even when trying seems impossible. Nathaniel met her eyes. That's strength, Mrs. Bennet. Don't let anyone tell you different. The words settled into Clara's chest, warm and unexpected. When was the last time someone had called her strong? When had anyone seen her as anything but a burden? "Thank you," she whispered. Nathaniel just nodded and returned his attention to James. Clara woke to sunlight and the smell of coffee. She jerked upright, panic flooding through her. "James, where was Easy?" Nathaniel's voice came from the stove. "Boy's still sleeping. Fever's down a touch." Clara stumbled to the table. James's face was still flushed, but not as violently red as before. His breathing seemed easier. "He's better." Better's a strong word. Less worse, maybe. Nathaniel poured coffee into a thick mug, set it in front of her. "Drink. Then you're eating breakfast and sleeping in a real bed." "I need to stay with—" "I'll watch him. Been watching him all night." Nathaniel's jaw was set. "You're no good to the boy if you collapse. So you'll eat, you'll sleep, and then we'll talk about what comes next." There was no arguing with that tone. Clara drank the coffee, strong, black, bitter, and let Nathaniel guide her upstairs to a small room with a narrow bed. "Sleep," he said. "I'll wake you if anything changes." But he wouldn't. Clara knew that. He'd let her sleep until her body quit fighting consciousness. She was right. When she woke, the sun was low and golden. She'd slept the entire day. Clara found Nathaniel in the kitchen, still at the table, still watching James. He looked exhausted, eyes, red-rimmed stubble darkening his jaw. "You didn't sleep at all," Clara said. "I'll sleep when the fever breaks." "Nathaniel." "Fever's lower. Got more medicine in him. He drank water without choking." Nathaniel stood, stretched, winced. "That's progress." Clara moved to James, touched his forehead. Warm, but not burning. Relief hit her like a wave. "Thank you," she said. "I don't know how to—" "Don't." Nathaniel cut her off. "I'm not doing anything special. Just what needs doing." "It's special to me." He looked uncomfortable with that. Changed the subject. "You said you were headed to Texas. You got plans beyond that. Find work. Housekeeper, laundress, anything. Save money. Disappear where Marcus can't find us." "That's not much of a plan." "It's all I've got." Nathaniel was quiet for a long moment. Then, "I've got a proposition." Clara's stomach tightened. Here it comes, she thought. The price. There was always a price. "What kind of proposition?" "The legitimate kind. Don't look at me like that." Nathaniel's mouth twitched, almost a smile. "I need a housekeeper. This place is falling apart without Sarah. Garden's dead, cooking's terrible, house is barely livable. You need work and a place to hide. Seems practical." "You want to hire me?" "Room, board, and wages. Same as I'd pay any hand. You cook, clean, tend the garden. When the boy's well, he can help with light chores, feeding chickens, gathering eggs. Earn his keep, too." Clara stared at him. "Why?" "Told you, I need help." "That's not the whole truth." Nathaniel's jaw worked. "No, it's not." He looked at James, and something in his expression cracked. "Truth is, this house has been dead for 5 years. I've been dead for 5 years. Going through motions, working till I'm too tired to think. Then you show up dying on my doorstep, and I realize I can still feel things, still care. And maybe that's worth something. Maybe helping you helps me too." "That's not practical. That's—" Necessary. Nathaniel's voice went rough. I need this, Mrs. Bennet. Need something to live for besides empty rooms and old grief. So yes, I'm offering you work, but I'm also asking you to stay because I don't want to go back to being alone. The honesty of it stole Clara's breath. I'll stay, she said, for as long as you'll have us. Good. They shook hands formal proper, but the touch lingered a moment too long. Long enough for Clara to feel calluses and scars and warmth. Long enough for something to shift between them. Not attraction, not yet, but possibility. The fever broke at dawn. Clara had fallen asleep in her chair again, and she woke to James's voice, weak but clear. Mama. Baby. Clara was beside him in an instant. Oh, sweetheart, how do you feel? Thirsty and hungry. Where are we? Somewhere safe. Clara smoothed his sweat-damp hair. With a friend. Nathaniel appeared in the doorway, took one look at James's clear eyes, and exhaled like he'd been holding his breath for 3 days. Fever broke, Clara said, half laughing, half crying. I see that. Nathaniel came to the table, felt James's forehead, nodded. You hungry, son? Yes, sir. That's a good sign. Nathaniel moved to the stove. Let's start with broth. Then we'll see about something solid. James watched Nathaniel with curious eyes. Who are you? Name's Nathaniel Cross. This is my ranch. Your mama's going to work for me for a while, which means you'll be staying here too. We get to stay. James looked at Clara. Really, Mama? Really. Can I have a room and see the horses? And James's enthusiasm was cut short by a jaw-cracking yawn. Easy. Nathaniel brought over a bowl of broth. You've been sick. No horses till you're stronger. But yeah, you can have a room. And I've got chickens that need feeding if you're interested. I like chickens. Clara watched her son chat with Nathaniel, excited, alive, safe, and felt something unlock in her chest. For the first time in 6 months, she could breathe without it hurting. Later, after James had eaten and been carried upstairs to sleep in a real bed, Clara found Nathaniel on the porch. The morning was cool, the sky pink with sunrise. Thank you, she said, for saving him, for saving us both. You did the hard part, walking 300 miles, keeping him alive that long. I couldn't have done the last part without you. Nathaniel looked at her then, and his expression was open in a way she hadn't seen before. Vulnerable. Clara, Mrs. Bennet, I need you to understand something. What? This arrangement. It's practical, yeah, but it's also... He struggled with the words. Having you here, having the boy, it's waking up parts of me I thought were dead, and that scares the hell out of me. Scares me too. Yeah. I told myself I'd never depend on anyone again after Thomas died. Never trust a man to keep his word. And here I am trusting a stranger I've known 3 days. I keep my promises, Clara. You'll learn that. I believe you. And she did. God help her, she did. They stood together watching the sunrise, not touching, but connected somehow. Two broken people standing on the edge of something neither could name yet. Behind them the house was alive again with James's soft snoring. Ahead, the prairie stretched endless and gold. Mama! Clara turned to see James in the doorway, looking small in one of Nathaniel's old shirts that draped on him like a dress. Yes, baby. Can I really feed the chickens tomorrow? If Mr. Cross says so. James looked at Nathaniel with hope bright in his eyes. And Nathaniel Gruff closed off. Nathaniel smiled. Small, but real. Sure, son, I'll show you how. You promise? I promise. James beamed and disappeared back inside. Clara's throat went tight. He likes you. Kid's got poor judgment. No, he's a good judge of character. Better than most adults. She paused. He needs a father, Nathaniel. Lost his when Thomas died. And Marcus would have been worse than no father at all. I can't. Nathaniel stopped. Started again. I don't know how to be a father. Never got the chance to learn. Neither did Thomas, really. He just loved James and figured the rest out as he went. That simple? That simple. Nathaniel was quiet for a long time. Then, I'll try. Can't promise I'll be good at it, but I'll try. That's all anyone can do. Clara woke to voices downstairs. Male voices. Rough, unfamiliar. She dressed quickly, crept to the stairs. In the kitchen, 3 men sat at the table with Nathaniel ranch hands, Clara guessed. Older, weathered, dressed for work. Telling you, boss, the whole county's gonna talk, one was saying. Gray-haired 60 at least. Single man, widow, woman, child. You know how people are. I don't care what people say, Hank. Maybe you should. A second man, younger, leaner. Ain't just gossip. Could affect your business, your reputation. My reputation survived Sarah's death and 5 years of being a hermit. It'll survive this. But will she? The third man, oldest of the 3, nodded toward the stairs. Toward Clara, still hidden. Folks won't be kind to her, boss. Widow woman living here unmarried, they'll assume the worst. Nathaniel's fist hit the table. Not loud, but hard. She needed help. I gave it. That's the end of the story. Not in this town, it ain't. Clara stepped into view. All 4 men turned to look at her. Mrs. Bennett. Nathaniel stood. These are my hands. Hank, Pete, Charlie. Boys, this is Mrs. Clara Bennett. She'll be housekeeping and cooking. You'll treat her with respect. Ma'am. They nodded, polite enough, but Clara saw the speculation in their eyes. What will people say? Clara asked directly. About me being here. The men exchanged glances. Hank cleared his throat. Truth, ma'am. They'll call you his mistress. Say you seduced him for security. Say your boy's illegitimate and you're running a game. He winced. I don't believe it, mind you. But others will. Clara's stomach dropped. I see. I told you, Nathaniel said flatly. I don't care what they... But I do. Clara cut him off. I have a son to think about. If people believe if they think James is... She couldn't finish. Then we make it clear you're working for wages. Proper employment. Nathaniel's jaw was set. Anyone who doesn't like it can go to hell. Nathaniel, no. He stood. I'm not sending you away because of gossip. You need this job. I need the help. That's all that matters. Clara wanted to argue, wanted to say she couldn't let him ruin his name for her sake. But she had nowhere else to go, no other options. And James needed stability, safety time to heal. All right, she said quietly. But if it gets bad, if it affects your business, you'll tell me. And I'll leave. It won't come to that. But looking at the ranch hands' troubled faces, Clara wondered if Nathaniel was being naive, or just stubborn. The rest of the day passed in tense productivity. Clara threw herself into work, scrubbing floors, washing windows, attacking the neglected vegetable garden with savage focus. Anything to quiet the anxiety gnawing at her. James helped, cheerful and oblivious. He followed Nathaniel around the ranch, asking endless questions, marveling at everything. The horses, the cattle in the distance, the chickens that scattered when he chased them. Watching them together, Nathaniel, patient, James, delighted. Clara felt her heart twist. This could work. They could build something here. A life, a home, maybe even a family of sorts, if the world would let them. That night after James was asleep, Clara found Nathaniel in the barn. He was brushing down a horse, methodical strokes, his face shadowed. You don't have to hide out here, Clara said. It's your house. Habit. Nathaniel didn't stop brushing. Spent the last 5 years sleeping in the loft. House feels strange now. Because we're in it. Yeah. Clara leaned against a post. The hands were right. This is going to cause talk. Let it. You say that now. But when it affects your business, when ranchers won't deal with you because they think then I'll find other ranchers. Nathaniel set down the brush, faced her. Clara, I made you a promise. Room board wages. I meant it. I'm not a man who goes back on his word. I know. But I don't want to be your ruin. You won't be. He crossed to her, and in the lamplight his eyes were fierce. You want the truth. Having you and James here, it's the first time in 5 years I've felt alive. Felt like this ranch was more than just something to maintain until I die. I'm not giving that up for gossip. Nathaniel. No, listen. He was close now, close enough that Clara could see the silver in his stubble, the lines around his eyes. I know this is complicated. I know people will talk, but I also know I can't send you away. Won't send you away. So we'll deal with whatever comes. Together. Together. The word hung between them, heavy with implication. All right, Clara whispered. Together. Nathaniel nodded, stepped back. The moment broke, but its echo lingered. That night, sleeping in her narrow bed with James curled beside her, Clara stared at the ceiling and wondered what she'd gotten herself into. She'd run from Marcus to protect her son, but she hadn't expected to find Nathaniel Cross. Hadn't expected to start caring about a broken rancher with sad eyes and gentle hands. Hadn't expected to want to stay. And that wanting that was the most dangerous thing of all. It arrived at noon. Clara was in the garden pulling weeds when she heard a horse approach. She straightened, wiping sweat from her forehead, and saw a rider, young official-looking, carrying a leather satchel. Nathaniel emerged from the barn. Help you. Telegraph for a Mrs. Clara Bennett. The rider dismounted. She here. Clara's blood went cold. I'm Clara Bennett. The rider handed her a folded paper. Came through from Kansas this morning. Sender paid for express delivery. Clara's hands shook as she opened it. The words blurred, sharpened, hit her like fists. Clara. Stop. Know where you are. Stop. Coming for James. Stop. You cannot run forever. Stop. Marcus. No. The word came out strangled. No, no, no. Nathaniel was beside her in an instant. What is it? Clara couldn't speak. Just handed him the telegraph. His face went hard as granite. I don't know. He just says he's coming. Boss. Hank appeared, took one look at Nathaniel's expression, and went alert. Trouble. Maybe. Nathaniel's mind was clearly racing. Clara, how'd he find you? I don't the towns we passed through. I gave our names at a church in Oklahoma, asked for help. They must have... Clara's breath came short. He'll take James. He has money, lawyers, respectability. I'm just Stop. Nathaniel gripped her shoulders. Look at me. Clara forced her eyes to his. He's not taking James. You understand. He'll have to go through me first. You can't fight the law, Nathaniel. Watch me. He'll ruin you. He'll say I'm your mistress, say James is illegitimate, say you're unfit. Nathaniel's jaw clenched, then quietly. Unless you're not my housekeeper, unless you're my wife. The world stopped. Clara stared at him. What? Marry me. Nathaniel said it flat, practical. Not for love. For protection. Husband has rights, a housekeeper doesn't. Marcus can't claim James if you're married to a respectable rancher with land and income. It's a legal shield. You can't be serious. I'm dead serious. Nathaniel's hands were still on her shoulders, steady and sure. I need an heir anyway. Never thought I'd have children after Sarah, but this ranch needs someone to pass to. James could be that, and you need protection. It's practical. Marriage isn't practical, it's a contract. Terms and conditions. We both get what we need. Nathaniel's voice softened just slightly. I'm not asking you to love me, Clara. I'm asking you to let me help. To let me protect you and James the only way I know how. Clara's mind spun. This was insane. She'd known this man 5 days. 5 days. But Marcus was coming. Marcus with his lawyers and his money and his absolute certainty that he knew what was best for James. And she had nothing. No money, no home, no legal standing, except what Nathaniel was offering. "If I say yes," Clara said slowly, "what would you expect? Respect, partnership. You keep running the house, I keep running the ranch. We raise James together. When I die, the ranch passes to him. And," Clara's face heated, "the other aspects of marriage? That's your choice. Always your choice." Nathaniel's eyes were steady. "I'm offering protection, Clara, not demanding payment." God help her, she believed him. "I need to think. You've got till Marcus arrives. Could be days, could be weeks." Nathaniel released her shoulders, stepped back. "But when he gets here, you'll need an answer. Housekeeper or wife. Your choice." He walked away, leaving Clara standing in the garden with the telegraph in her shaking hands and an impossible decision burning in her chest. Behind her, James's laughter rang out, playing with the chickens, innocent and safe. For now. Clara looked down at the telegraph again. You cannot run forever. No, she couldn't. But maybe she didn't have to run anymore. Maybe she could stand and fight. With Nathaniel Cross beside her. If she was brave enough to say yes. Clara didn't sleep that night. She lay in the narrow bed with James curled against her side, his breathing soft and even, while her mind churned through impossible calculations. Marry Nathaniel Cross. A man she'd known 5 days. A practical stranger offering a practical solution to keep her son safe. It was insane. It was also the only option she had. Morning came gray and cold. Clara dressed quietly, left James sleeping, and found Nathaniel already in the kitchen making coffee. He looked like he hadn't slept either, eyes shadowed, jaw tight. You thought about it, he said. Not a question. All night. And Clara poured herself coffee with hands that wanted to shake. I need to know what you're really asking, not the practical parts, the real parts. Nathaniel leaned against the counter, arms crossed. All right, ask. Do you want a real marriage? Eventually? I don't know, honestly. He met her eyes. I loved Sarah. When she died, I thought that part of me died too. But these last 5 days with you and James here, I'm not sure what I feel. Don't know if I can feel that way again. That's honest. You deserve honest. Nathaniel's voice roughened. What I do know is this: I like having you here. I like hearing James laugh. I like coming into a house that feels alive instead of empty. And I know I'll do whatever it takes to keep you both safe. If that's all we ever have, practical partnership, shared purpose, I can live with that. Clara wrapped both hands around her mug. And if I can't? If I need more eventually? Then we'll figure it out when we get there, together. He paused. What about you? What are you really asking? If I marry you, I need to know you won't throw it in my face later, won't remind me I was desperate and you were my only option, won't, her voice cracked, won't make me feel like I owe you something I can't give. Nathaniel's expression went fierce. I would never. You hear me? Never. This is a choice we both make. Equal terms. You don't owe me anything except what we agree to together. Promise me. I promise. He said it like a vow. On Sarah's grave, I promise. Clara believed him. God help her, she did. Then yes, she said quietly. I'll marry you. Nathaniel exhaled like he'd been holding his breath for hours. All right then, we'll do it quick, before Marcus gets here. Make it legal so he can't claim otherwise. How quick? Today if possible. Tomorrow at latest. Nathaniel was already moving, thinking. I'll ride to town, talk to Pastor Reynolds, get a license. We can marry here at the ranch with the hands as witnesses. Today, Clara's heart hammered. Nathaniel, that's we can't. We can and we will. He stopped in front of her. Clara, the moment Marcus finds out you're here, he'll move fast. File papers, get a judge involved. We need to be married before that happens. Before he can claim fraud. He was right. Clara knew he was right. But the reality of it hit her like a fist. She was going to marry a stranger in less than 24 hours. What do we tell James? She whispered. The truth. That I'm going to be his pa now. That we're a family. Nathaniel's voice softened. He'll understand. Kids understand more than we think. He's 4. And he's smart. He knows you've been scared. He'll be happy you're safe. Clara nodded, not trusting her voice. Nathaniel reached out slowly, gave her time to pull away, and when she didn't, he took her hand. His palm was rough, warm, solid. We'll make this work, he said. I don't know how exactly, but we will. You keep making promises you can't guarantee. Then I'll keep breaking my back trying to keep them anyway. The corner of Clara's mouth twitched despite everything. You're stubborn. So are you. We'll match. He released her hand and headed for the door, grabbing his hat. I'll be back by noon. Tell James, tell him whatever feels right. And Clara, yes. Thank you for trusting me with this. Then he was gone, boots thudding across the porch, horse hooves fading into morning. Clara stood alone in the kitchen and wondered what the hell she'd just agreed to. Upstairs, James stirred, called for her. Clara took a breath, steadied herself, and went to tell her son she was getting married. James took the news better than expected. So, Mr. Nathaniel's gonna be my pa. He sat cross-legged on the bed, still in his nightshirt, eyes wide and curious. Yes, baby, if that's all right with you. Will he teach me about horses? Clara laughed, surprising herself. I'm sure he will. And I get to stay here forever. Forever. James considered this with 4-year-old seriousness. Then he smiled, bright and uncomplicated and beautiful. Good. I like it here. And I like Mr. Nathaniel. He's nice even when he's grumpy. He is, isn't he? When's the wedding? Today, maybe tomorrow. That's fast. It is. Okay. James hopped off the bed. Can I wear my good shirt? And just like that, it was settled. In James's world, if Mama was happy and they got to stay, nothing else mattered. Clara wished she could see things that simply. Nathaniel returned at noon with Pastor Reynolds, a kind-faced man in his 60s, who looked at Clara with gentle understanding. Mrs. Bennett, Mr. Cross explained the situation. The pastor said, I'll be frank, this is irregular. But I've known Nathaniel for 20 years, and if he says he's doing this honorably, I believe him. Thank you, Pastor. The license is filed. We can perform the ceremony whenever you're ready. He glanced between them. Though I'd counsel you both to understand what you're undertaking. Marriage is a sacred bond, not just a legal convenience. I understand, Nathaniel said quietly. And I take it serious. As do I, Clara added. Pastor Reynolds nodded. Then we'll proceed. You'll need witnesses. My hands are here. Hank, Pete, Charlie. Nathaniel looked at Clara. Unless you want to wait, invite people. No. Clara's voice was firm. Today. Now. Before I lose my nerve. Something flickered in Nathaniel's eyes. Respect, maybe. Or relief. All right then. Let's get married. The ceremony happened in the front room with afternoon light slanting through dusty windows. Hank, Pete, and Charlie stood awkward and respectful in their work clothes. James perched on a chair swinging his legs. Pastor Reynolds opened his Bible. Dearly beloved, we are gathered here. The words washed over Clara like water. She heard them distantly. Love, honor, cherish, sickness, health. While her mind screamed that this was insane, impossible, too fast. But Nathaniel stood beside her solid and sure, and when Pastor Reynolds asked if he took Clara to be his lawful wedded wife, Nathaniel didn't hesitate. I do. Then it was her turn. Pastor Reynolds looked at her with patient eyes. Do you, Clara Ann Bennett, take this man to be your lawfully wedded husband, to have, and to hold from this day forward for better or worse, for richer or poorer in sickness and in health, until death do you part." Clara's throat closed. She looked at Nathaniel, this stranger who'd saved her life, saved her son, who was offering her protection when she had nothing. She thought of Marcus coming with lawyers and judgments, thought of James being taken raised by a man who saw him as property, thought of the alternative, this ranch, this life, this man who looked at her like she mattered. "I do," Clara said. Pastor Reynolds smiled. "Then by the power vested in me I pronounce you husband and wife. Nathaniel, you may kiss your bride." Nathaniel's eyes met hers, a question. Clara nodded barely. He leaned in and pressed his lips to hers. Brief. Chaste. Over almost before it began. But Clara felt it in her bones anyway, the finality of it. The commitment. She was Clara Cross now, and there was no going back. The hands clapped. James cheered. Pastor Reynolds pronounced them married and blessed and sent on their way. Clara stood in her borrowed dress and felt the weight of what she'd just done settle over her like a physical thing. Nathaniel's hand found hers, squeezed once. "You all right? Ask me tomorrow." His mouth quirked, almost a smile. Fair enough. That night, after a simple supper that Clara barely tasted after James had been tucked into bed, chattering excitedly about having a pie, Clara and Nathaniel stood on the porch and faced the question neither had wanted to ask. "I'll sleep in the barn," Nathaniel said. "Like always. People will talk if they find out. Let them." "Nathaniel." Clara turned to face him. "We did this to make it look legitimate, to protect against Marcus's claims. If anyone discovers you're sleeping in the barn instead of—" She couldn't finish. "You want me in the house. I want this marriage to look real. That means sharing a room. At minimum." Nathaniel's jaw worked. "I won't push for more. Won't expect—" "I know." Clara did know. She trusted that much. "But appearances matter. So yes, the house. My room, our room now, I suppose. I'll bring my things up." He did. All of 15 minutes to move his entire life from barn loft to the room next to Clara's, which became their room when Clara quietly moved her few belongings in, while Nathaniel made up the bed with fresh linens. They worked in silence, hyper-aware of each other, the intimacy of the situation pressing down. Finally, the room was ready. One bed, two people who were legally married and practically strangers. "I'll take the floor," Nathaniel said. "Don't be ridiculous. The bed's big enough." "Clara? We're adults. We can share a bed without—" She stopped. "Just stay on your side." "Yes, ma'am." They changed in awkward silence. Nathaniel facing the wall, while Clara slipped into her nightgown, then Clara turning away, while Nathaniel stripped to his undershirt and trousers. The bed dipped when Nathaniel lay down, careful to stay far on his side. Clara climbed in on hers, equally careful. A foot of space between them. Might as well have been miles. "Clara." "Yes?" "Thank you. For doing this. For trusting me. Thank you for offering." Silence stretched. Clara stared at the ceiling and tried not to think about the man beside her. The warmth of him. The unfamiliarity. "Nathaniel." "Yeah." "What happens when Marcus comes?" "We face him. Together. Show him you're married to a respectable man with land and means. Show him James is happy and cared for." Nathaniel's voice was quiet in the dark. "And if that doesn't work, I'll make sure he understands that trying to take James means going through me first. He has lawyers. I'll get lawyers. He has money. So do I. Maybe not as much, but enough." Nathaniel shifted, and Clara felt his gaze on her even though she couldn't see his face. "I meant what I said, Clara. I'll protect you and James, whatever it takes. Even if it ruins you. I've been ruined before. I survived." Clara turned her head on the pillow, looked at him in the darkness. "You're a good man, Nathaniel Cross. I'm a selfish man who doesn't want to be alone anymore. Maybe both things can be true. Maybe." They fell silent again. Eventually, Clara's breathing evened out, and she slept. Nathaniel lay awake much longer, listening to her breathe, feeling the warmth of another person in his bed for the first time in 5 years, and wondering what the hell he'd gotten himself into. Because somewhere between finding Clara dying on his land and marrying her in his front room, something had shifted. This wasn't just practical anymore, and that terrified him more than Marcus Bennett's lawyers ever could. Morning brought reality crashing back. Clara woke to find Nathaniel already gone. His side of the bed cold, the house quiet. She dressed quickly and found him in the barn mucking stalls with savage focus. "You left early," she said. "Needed to work. Or needed to escape." Nathaniel stabbed the pitchfork into hay. "Maybe both." Clara leaned against the stall door. "We can't avoid each other, Nathaniel. We're married now." "I know." "Then talk to me. What's wrong?" "Nothing's wrong. Everything's fine." "You're a terrible liar." Nathaniel finally looked at her. "I woke up with you in my bed, and for a second I forgot. Forgot it was just practical. Forgot we're strangers. And that—" He stopped. "That scared me." Clara's heart kicked. "Why?" "Because I won't—" Nathaniel struggled with words. "I can't let myself care like that again. Can't risk it. We agreed this was practical, and I need it to stay that way." "What if it doesn't?" "Then we're both in trouble." Clara crossed to him slowly, stopped a few feet away. "Nathaniel, I'm scared too. Terrified, actually. I married a man I barely know because I was desperate. But I'm here now, and we made vows, and we have to figure out how to live with what we've done." "I know. So stop running to the barn every time things feel complicated. Stay. Talk to me. Let me know you." Nathaniel's hands tightened on the pitchfork. "What if you don't like what you find? What if I do?" The question hung between them, dangerous and full of possibility. Before Nathaniel could answer, hoofbeats sounded outside, fast, urgent. They both turned as Hank appeared in the barn doorway, face grim. "Boss, we got a problem. Ryder just came from town. Says there's a man at the hotel asking questions about a widow woman and a boy. Arrived last night." Clara's blood went cold. "Marcus." "He's here?" Nathaniel's voice went hard. "Already." "Seems so. And boss, he's got 2 men with him. One's wearing a badge. The other looks like a lawyer." Clara grabbed for the stall door, suddenly dizzy. "He brought a marshal. He's going to—" "Easy." Nathaniel was beside her, steadying her. "He can't take James. You're married now. Legally married. He'll say it's fraud, that we did it to block his claim." "It is fraud," Nathaniel said bluntly. "But it's also legal, and by the time any court could prove otherwise, we'll have been married long enough that it won't matter." "You don't know that." "No, but I know this Marcus Bennett isn't taking your son without a fight." Nathaniel turned to Hank. "When's he coming?" "Don't know. Could be today. Could be he's gathering information first." Hank looked worried. "Boss, you sure about this, going up against a marshal and lawyers?" "I'm sure." "It could get ugly." "Let it." Hank nodded and left. Clara sagged against the stall, trembling. "He's going to take James. I know he is. The marshal, the lawyer, Nathaniel, we can't fight that." "The hell we can't." Nathaniel turned her to face him, hands firm on her shoulders. "Listen to me. You are Clara Cross now, my wife. James is my stepson. We have a legal marriage certificate filed with the county. Marcus can stomp and threaten all he wants, but the law says you're mine and James is ours." "Nathaniel." "No, I told you I'd protect you and I meant it. So here's what we're going to do. We're going back to the house. We're going to act like normal married people going about our day. And when Marcus shows up with his badge and his lawyer, we're going to show them a happy family that he has no legal right to disrupt." Clara wanted to believe him, wanted to trust that it would be that simple. But she'd learned the hard way that men like Marcus didn't give up easy. Still, what choice did she have? Run again. Take James and disappear into the territories with nothing. At least here she had Nathaniel. Had the protection of his name and his determination. It would have to be enough. They walked back to the house together. James was at the kitchen table eating oatmeal, oblivious to the storm coming. "Morning, Pa." He'd started calling Nathaniel that, immediately natural as breathing. Nathaniel's expression softened. "Morning, son. You finish that oatmeal, then we'll go check on the horses." "Really? Really?" James beamed and shoveled oatmeal faster. Clara watched them and felt her throat tighten. This was what Marcus would destroy. This fragile new real thing they were building. She wouldn't let him. They'd been married 3 days when Marcus came. Clara was hanging laundry when she heard the horses. 3 riders coming up the road at a deliberate pace. Her hands froze on the wet sheet. The clothespins clattered to the ground. Nathaniel emerged from the barn, saw her face, and went rigid. "Inside. Get James." "Nathaniel." "Now, Clara." She ran, found James playing in the front room, and scooped him up. "Mama, what's wrong?" "Nothing, baby. Just need you to stay inside for a bit." "But Pa said—" "I know. Just wait here, please." She set James down and moved to the window. Through the dusty glass, she watched the riders approach. Marcus was unmistakable, tall, dark-haired, impeccably dressed, even after days of travel. Beside him rode a man with a tin star on his vest, and another in a city suit carrying a leather case. They stopped at the gate. Nathaniel stood in the yard, arms crossed, immovable. "Help you, gentlemen." His voice carried through the open window. Marcus dismounted with practiced ease. "I'm looking for Clara Bennett and her son James. I was told they're here." "Was you told wrong or right?" "That's what I'm here to determine." Marcus's smile was all teeth. "I'm Marcus Bennett, Clara's brother-in-law. I've been searching for her for weeks." "That's so." "It is. She ran from Kansas with my nephew. I have concerns about her fitness as a mother. I'm here to ensure the boy's welfare." Nathaniel didn't move. "Boy's fine. Mother's fine. You can head on back to Kansas." "I'm afraid that's not acceptable." The man with the badge stepped forward. "I'm Marshal Cooper. Mr. Bennett has filed concerns with the territorial authorities. I'm here to investigate." "Investigate what exactly?" "Whether James Bennett is being properly cared for, whether Mrs. Bennett is of sound mind and character, whether—" Marcus cut in smoothly, "whether my nephew is in danger." Nathaniel's laugh was cold. "You're looking at the wrong house for danger, friend. And you are Nathaniel Cross. This is my ranch." He paused deliberately. "And Clara Bennett is my wife." Marcus went still. "Your what?" "Wife. We married 4 days ago. So your concerns about her fitness, not your business anymore. She's my responsibility now." "That's—" The lawyer stepped forward, case clutched tight. "That's extremely convenient timing, Mr. Cross." "Convenient or not, it's legal. Got the papers filed at the county office if you want to see them." Marshal Cooper's expression turned troubled. "Mr. Cross, you understand how this looks. Mr. Bennett files custody concerns and suddenly Mrs. Bennett is married. Understand how I don't care how it looks. It's legal. She's my wife. James is my stepson. That's the fact of the matter." Marcus's face had gone red. "This is fraud. Obvious fraud. Clara married you to avoid my custody claim." "Clara married me because I asked and she said yes. Reason doesn't matter. Marriage is marriage. We'll see what a judge says about that." "You do that." Nathaniel's voice went dangerous. "In the meantime, you're not setting foot on my property without a court order, and you're sure as hell not going near my wife or my boy." "Your boy." Marcus's laugh was ugly. "You've known him what a week. He's not yours. He's my blood, my brother's son, and I will not let some frontier rancher steal him just because my sister-in-law spread her—" Nathaniel moved fast. One moment he was standing still, the next he had Marcus by the collar, lifting him half off his feet. "Finish that sentence. Nathaniel said softly. Please, give me a reason. Marshal Cooper stepped forward, hand on his gun. Mr. Cross let him go. He insults my wife again, and I'll do more than grab his collar. Let him go. Nathaniel released Marcus with a shove. Marcus stumbled back, face furious. You'll regret this, Marcus hissed. I'll see you ruined, both of you. I'll prove this marriage is a sham, and I'll take James, and there's nothing you can do to stop me. Try it. Nathaniel's voice was cold iron. Try it and see what happens. Marshal Cooper, I demand you investigate this situation. Question Mrs. Cross. Question the boy. Determine if this marriage is legitimate. The marshal looked uncomfortable. Mr. Bennett, if they're legally married, I don't have grounds to. Then get grounds. Talk to people in town. They'll tell you she showed up here homeless and desperate. She's using this man, and he's too foolish to see it. Or maybe, Nathaniel said quietly, I know exactly what I'm doing. Maybe I wanted a wife and she needed a husband, and that's nobody's business but ours. Marcus stared at him with pure hatred. Then he turned to the lawyer. File papers. Emergency custody hearing. I want a judge involved within the week. Mr. Bennett, that's not... Do it. The lawyer nodded, unhappy but compliant. Marcus swung back onto his horse. This isn't over, Clara, he shouted toward the house. You can hide behind your new husband all you want, but I will have my day in court. And when I do, everyone will see you for what you are, a desperate woman who'll do anything to keep what's not hers. He wheeled his horse and galloped off. The marshal and lawyer followed more slowly, the marshal throwing one last troubled look back. Nathaniel stood in the yard, fists clenched until they disappeared from view. Then he turned and walked to the house. Clara met him at the door. She was shaking, arms wrapped around herself. He's going to fight, she whispered. He's really going to fight. I know. Nathaniel, he called me. He said I heard what he said. Nathaniel's jaw was tight. And it doesn't matter. None of it matters except this: we're married. James is safe. And Marcus Bennett can take us to every judge in the territory, and it won't change those facts. You don't know that. I know I'm not giving up without a fight. Clara looked up at him, this man she'd married in desperation, who was now standing between her and everything she feared. Why? The word came out broken. Why are you doing this? Fighting this hard for people you barely know? Nathaniel's expression shifted. Walls cracking. Truth bleeding through. Because I know what it's like to lose everything. To have people you love ripped away and not be able to stop it. His voice went rough. I couldn't save Sarah. Couldn't save my son. But I can save you and James. And I will. Even if it costs me everything I have. Clara's eyes filled with tears. Nathaniel, don't. He looked away. Don't make it more than it is. This is still practical. Still just... Clara stepped forward and kissed him. Not like the chaste brush at their wedding. Real. Deep. Desperate. Nathaniel froze for a heartbeat. Then his hands came up to frame her face, and he kissed her back like a drowning man finding air. When they broke apart, both were breathing hard. That wasn't practical, Nathaniel said. No, it wasn't. Clara, we can't. This complicates. I know. I don't care. Clara's hands fisted in his shirt. I'm tired of pretending this is just business. Tired of acting like I don't care. You stood up to Marcus for me. For James. You're fighting for us like we matter. You do matter. Then stop pushing me away. Stop sleeping on your side of the bed like I'm going to shatter if you get too close. Stop pretending you don't feel something. What if what I feel isn't enough? What if I can't? Then we'll figure it out. But Nathaniel, please, stop running. He looked at her for a long moment. Then slowly, carefully, he pulled her into his arms. Clara buried her face in his chest and let herself shake. Let herself feel all the terror and relief and desperate hope she'd been holding back. And Nathaniel held her, just held her, like maybe he needed the contact as much as she did. Behind them, James appeared in the doorway. "Mama, Pa, was that Uncle Marcus?" They pulled apart. Nathaniel's arm stayed around Clara's waist, protective, possessive. "Yes, son," he said. "That was your uncle." "Is he going to take me away?" "No." Nathaniel's voice was iron. "He's not." "Promise?" "Promise. You're my boy now, and I protect what's mine." James nodded satisfied and went back to his toys. Clara looked up at Nathaniel. "You meant that? About him being yours?" "Yeah, I did." Nathaniel's arm tightened around her. "Somewhere in the last week he stopped being your son and became ours, and I'll be damned if I let Marcus take him. We need a plan for the custody hearing. We need a lawyer, a good one." Nathaniel's mind was clearly working. "And we need to prove this marriage is real, not fraud." "How do we do that?" "By living like we're married, by making it true." He looked down at her. "Think you can do that, Clara? Make this real." Clara thought about the kiss, about waking up beside him, about the way her heart kicked when he called James son. "I think I already am," she whispered. Nathaniel's eyes darkened. Then he bent and kissed her again, slower this time, deliberate, full of promise. When he pulled back, his voice was rough. "Then we fight, together, and we win." "Together," Clara agreed. Behind them, the prairie stretched endless and unforgiving. Ahead, a custody battle that could tear their new family apart. But for the first time since Thomas died, Clara had hope. Not just hope that she'd survive, hope that she might actually live again. And that was worth fighting for. The lawyer arrived 3 days later. Clara was kneading bread when she heard the buggy. Her hands froze in the dough heart, jumping to her throat. "Nathaniel." He came through the back door, took one look at her face, and moved to the window. "It's all right. That's not Marcus." "Then who?" "Margaret Hall, best lawyer in 3 counties. Nathaniel wiped his hands on a rag. "I sent for her yesterday." A woman climbed from the buggy, 50 maybe older, dressed in severe black with steel gray hair pinned tight. She carried a leather case and moved with the confidence of someone who'd fought plenty of battles and won most of them. Nathaniel went out to meet her. Clara followed, wiping flour from her hands. "Mrs. Hall, appreciate you coming on short notice." "Mr. Cross." The woman's handshake was firm. "And this must be Mrs. Cross." "Clara, yes." Clara's voice came out steadier than she felt. "Let's talk inside. We don't have much time." Margaret's eyes were sharp, assessing. "The custody hearing's been set for 6 days from now. Judge Morrison presiding. He's fair but conservative. This won't be easy." They settled at the kitchen table. Margaret pulled papers from her case, spread them with practiced efficiency. "All right. Tell me everything. How you met, why you married, what Marcus Bennett's going to claim. Leave nothing out." So they told her. Clara's desperate arrival. James's fever, the practical arrangement that became something more. Margaret listened without interrupting, taking notes in tight shorthand. When they finished, she sat back. "Marcus will argue the marriage is fraudulent, that you married solely to block his custody claim." "We did," Nathaniel said bluntly. "Nathaniel." Clara kicked his shin under the table. "What?" "It's true. But that doesn't make it fraud. People marry for practical reasons all the time." Margaret's mouth twitched. "He's right. The question isn't why you married. It's whether the marriage is legitimate now. Whether you're acting as husband and wife in all respects." Clara's face heated. We share a bed," Nathaniel said flatly. "We live as married people. That's all the court needs to know." "Actually, the court will want more." Margaret's gaze was uncomfortably penetrating. "They'll ask about physical intimacy, about whether this is a marriage in name only." That's nobody's business, Nathaniel growled. It becomes their business when custody's involved. Marcus will paint you as a man who married a desperate woman for companionship, nothing more. He'll say she's living as your housekeeper with legal papers, not as your wife. Clara's stomach twisted. What do we do? You live like you're married, publicly, visibly. You attend church together, you're seen in town. You behave like a couple in love, not business partners. Margaret paused. Can you do that? Nathaniel reached under the table and found Clara's hand. Squeezed. Yeah, we can do that. Good. Because I'll be honest, Marcus has advantages. Money, social standing, blood relation to the boy. What you have is legitimacy, and the fact that James is clearly thriving here. We need to emphasize that. Show the judge a happy, stable family that benefits the child. James is happy, Clara said firmly. He calls Nathaniel Pa without being told. He's gained weight. He's healthy, he smiles again. Then we'll make sure the judge sees that. I'll need character witnesses, people who can testify to your marriage's legitimacy and James's welfare. The ranch hands, Nathaniel said. Hank's known me 20 years. He'll speak for us. Anyone else, women especially. Judges like hearing from women about domestic situations. Clara bit her lip. We haven't been in town much. I don't know people here. Then we change that, starting now. Margaret gathered her papers. Between now and the hearing, you two are going to be the most visible couple in the county. Church on Sunday, shopping in town. Socialize, make friends, show everyone this marriage is real. After Margaret left, Clara sank into a chair. I can't do this. Go to town, pretend everything's fine while they all stare and judge. Yes, you can. Nathaniel knelt in front of her, hands on her knees. You walked 300 miles. You can walk into town with your head high. That's different. How? Because I was alone then. Now I have something to lose. Clara's voice cracked. I have you and James and this life we're building, and Marcus could take it all away. He won't. I won't let him. Nathaniel's grip tightened. Clara, look at me. She did. His eyes were storm-dark, fierce. I meant my vows. For better or worse. This is the worst part, but we're going through it together. You understand? Yes. Then trust me. Trust us. We'll beat this. Clara leaned forward and kissed him, quick, desperate, needing the contact. When she pulled back, Nathaniel's expression had shifted to something raw. Keep doing that, and I won't be responsible for my actions, he said roughly. Maybe I don't want you to be responsible. Heat flared in his eyes. Then James's voice called from upstairs, and the moment broke. Nathaniel stood, cleared his throat. Tonight, after James is asleep, we'll talk about us. All right. But talking wasn't what Clara had in mind. Sunday came cold and bright. Clara dressed in her only good dress, the same one she'd worn for their wedding, while Nathaniel put on his suit. James wore his clean shirt and actually held still while Clara combed his hair. Why are we getting fancy? James asked. Church, Nathaniel said. Time folks in town met you proper. Will there be other kids? Probably. Good. I want friends. Clara's throat tightened. James had been so isolated the last 6 months, no playmates, no school, just survival. Now he wanted friends. Normal 4-year-old things, she'd give him that. Whatever it cost. The church was packed when they arrived. Conversations stopped mid-sentence as the Cross family walked down the aisle. Clara felt every eye tracking them, heard the whispers start. That's her, the widow who showed up. Married him inside a week, I heard. Convenient, isn't it? Nathaniel's hand pressed against her lower back, steady, supporting. They slid into a pew near the front, deliberate positioning that said they had nothing to hide. Pastor Reynolds smiled at them from the pulpit, started the service. Clara tried to focus on the sermon, but the stares burned into her back. The whispers continued, barely concealed. She felt exposed, judged, found wanting. Then James leaned against her side, small and trusting, and Clara straightened her spine. These people didn't matter. Their gossip didn't matter. Only her family mattered. After service, they were ambushed at the door by a formidable woman in purple silk. "Nathaniel Cross, you've been hiding." "Mrs. Hartwell." Nathaniel's tone was carefully polite. "Good to see you." "I doubt that. You've been avoiding town for months." Sharp eyes fixed on Clara. "And this must be the mysterious Mrs. Cross." "Clara, this is Constance Hartwell. She runs everything in town mostly." "I coordinate charitable efforts," Mrs. Hartwell corrected. "And I hear congratulations are in order, though the timing does raise eyebrows." Clara's chin lifted. "We married when we chose to marry. I don't see how that's anyone's concern but ours." Spoken like a woman with something to hide. Spoken like a woman with a spine. Clara met her gaze dead on. "I'm Nathaniel's wife. James is our son. That's the truth. Believe it or don't." Mrs. Hartwell's expression shifted surprise, then grudging respect. "Well, you're not what I expected." "Good. I'd hate to be predictable." A laugh barked out before Mrs. Hartwell could stop it. "I like you. Against my better judgment, but I do." She glanced at James, who was hiding behind Clara's skirts. "And who's this shy creature?" "James Cross, ma'am." James peeked out. "I'm 4. 4. A fine age. Do you like your new father?" "He's the best." James's voice was clear, certain. "He teaches me about horses and doesn't get mad when I ask too many questions." Mrs. Hartwell looked at Nathaniel. High praise. Kid's easy to please. But Nathaniel's hand rested on James's shoulder, protective and proud. Mrs. Hartwell studied them, this makeshift family standing together against the world. "I'm hosting a ladies' tea Thursday afternoon. Mrs. Cross, you should attend. Meet the other women properly." It was a test. Clara knew it. Accept and face the lion's den of town gossip. Refuse and confirm their suspicions that she was hiding something. "I'd be delighted," Clara lied smoothly. "Excellent. 2 o'clock. Don't be late." Mrs. Hartwell swept off in a rustle of purple silk. Nathaniel exhaled. "That went better than expected." "She's going to interrogate me at that tea." "Probably, but she invited you. That's something." He guided them toward the buggy. "She's the town's unofficial queen. Her approval matters. Then I better not disappoint." They made it halfway to the buggy before Marcus stepped out from behind a wagon. Clara's heart stopped. Family outing. Marcus's smile was poison. How quaint. Nathaniel moved in front of Clara and James. "You're not welcome here, Bennett. It's a public street. I've every right to be here." Marcus's gaze slid past Nathaniel to Clara. "Hello, sister. You're looking well. Marriage agrees with you." "Go away, Marcus. I just wanted to see my nephew. Make sure he's being properly cared for." Marcus crouched down, trying to make eye contact with James. "Hello, James. Do you remember me?" James pressed closer to Clara. "You yelled at Mama. Made her cry." "Did I? I'm sorry. I was just worried about you." Marcus's voice dripped false warmth. "Are you happy here?" "Yes. Even though your real father is dead and this man is just pretending." "Marcus!" Clara's voice cracked like a whip. Nathaniel grabbed Marcus by the collar, hauled him up. "You talk to my son again without permission and I'll break your jaw. That clear?" "Your son." Marcus's laugh was ugly. "You've known him 2 weeks. He's not yours. He'll never be yours. He's more mine than he'll ever be yours." Nathaniel shoved Marcus back. "Now get out of here before I forget we're in front of a church." Marcus straightened his coat, smile never wavering. "See you at the hearing, brother." "Oh wait, you're not my brother, are you? You're just the man desperate enough to marry a woman everyone knows is using you." He walked away before Nathaniel could respond. Clara was shaking. James clung to her skirts, eyes wide. "Mama, is Uncle Marcus gonna take me?" "No, baby. Never." Clara knelt, pulled James into her arms. You're ours. Pa and I won't let anyone take you. Promise. Promise. But over James's head, Clara met Nathaniel's eyes and saw the same fear she felt. Marcus was playing dirty, and they had 6 days to prove he couldn't win. That night, after James finally fell asleep, he'd had nightmares about Marcus. Clara found Nathaniel on the porch. He was standing at the rail staring into darkness. "You all right?" she asked, thinking about what Marcus said. "Which part?" "The part where he's right. I'm not James's real father. I've only known him 2 weeks. What if the judge agrees? What if blood matters more than—" Clara grabbed his face, forced him to look at her. Don't you dare doubt this. You are more of a father to James in 2 weeks than Marcus would be in a lifetime. You know why? Why? Because you chose him. You didn't have to. He's not your blood, not your obligation, but you chose to protect him anyway, to love him anyway. That's what makes you his father." Nathaniel's hands came up to cover hers. "I do love him. Didn't expect to, but I do. And the thought of losing him—" "We won't lose him." "You can't know that." "No, but I can fight like hell to make sure it doesn't happen. And so can you." Clara's voice turned fierce. "We're going to that hearing. We're going to show that judge a real family, and we're going to win. What if we don't? Then we run. Take James and disappear so deep into the territories that Marcus never finds us." Nathaniel stared at her. "You'd do that? Give up everything again?" "For my son, I'd do anything." Clara's eyes burned. "But I don't want to run, Nathaniel. I want to stay here, with you. In this life we're building. So we're going to fight first. Agreed, agreed." He kissed her, then hard and desperate, and full of everything he couldn't say. Clara kissed back with equal fervor, pouring all her fear and hope and need into it. When they broke apart, both breathing hard, Nathaniel rested his forehead against hers. "I need you," he said roughly. "Not just for James. For me. These last 2 weeks, Clara, you've brought me back to life, and I won't—" "I know. Me too." Clara's hands fisted in his shirt. "Whatever happens at that hearing, we're in this together. Win or lose. We're going to win. Promise me." "I promise. On everything I have, I promise." Thursday's tea was exactly as awful as Clara expected. She arrived at Mrs. Hartwell's pristine parlor to find 12 women waiting teacups, balanced eyes sharp. The conversation died the moment she entered. Mrs. Cross, punctual. "I approve." Mrs. Hartwell gestured to an empty chair. "Ladies, this is Nathaniel Cross's new bride. Clara, these are the leading women of our community." Clara sat, smiled, felt like a specimen under glass. "So tell us, dear." A blonde woman in pink leaned forward. "How exactly did you and Mr. Cross meet?" "I was traveling through. My son took ill. Mr. Cross helped us." "And then you married him, just like that." "We married when it felt right." 2 weeks is hardly enough time to know someone. This from an older woman with pinched features. "Sometimes you just know." Clara kept her voice even. "Nathaniel's a good man. I'm lucky to have him." "Or he's lucky to have a housekeeper who comes with legal papers." The blonde again smiled saccharine. Clara's fingers tightened on her teacup. "I'm his wife, not his housekeeper." "Of course. Though I hear you were quite desperate when you arrived. Penniless, homeless, child dying." The words were knives disguised as concern. "Must have been convenient to find a lonely widower." "I found a good man who helped when no one else would. If that's convenient, I'll take it." "And the boy, I hear there's some question about his custody." Clara's heart hammered, but she kept her face smooth. "James's uncle is contesting my fitness as a mother. We're addressing it legally. By marrying quickly to avoid losing custody. By building a stable home for my son, which is exactly what any mother would do." Mrs. Hartwell cleared her throat. "Ladies, we're here to welcome Mrs. Cross, not interrogate her." We're simply curious. The blonde's smile didn't reach her eyes. After all, Nathaniel Cross has been alone for 5 years. Now suddenly, he's married to a woman who desperately needs protection. It raises questions. Clara set down her teacup. Stood. Then let me answer them plainly. Yes, I needed help. Yes, Nathaniel offered it. Yes, we married quickly. But I love my husband. I respect him. And I'll be damned if I sit here while you imply I'm using him. Silence crashed through the room. Well, Mrs. Hartwell's eyes gleamed. That's clear enough. If you'll excuse me. Clara headed for the door. I have a family to get home to. She made it to the porch before Mrs. Hartwell caught her arm. That was either very brave or very stupid. Probably both. Clara was shaking, adrenaline flooding. But I'm not going to smile and nod while they call me a schemer. Good. I hate women without spines. Mrs. Hartwell studied her. You really love him, Nathaniel? Yes. And the marriage is real, not just papers. Clara met her eyes. It's real. Maybe it didn't start that way, but it is now. He's my husband. I'm his wife. And James is our son. Mrs. Hartwell nodded slowly. Then you should know I'll be testifying at your hearing. Clara's breath caught. You will? I've known Nathaniel Cross since he was a boy. He's a good man. Honorable. If he says this marriage is legitimate, I believe him. She paused. And I saw how that child looked at him at church. That boy loves his father. Blood or not. Thank you. Clara's voice broke. You don't know what that means. I know exactly what it means. Now go home to your family. And Clara. Mrs. Hartwell's grip tightened. At that hearing you stand tall. Don't let Marcus Bennett see you scared. Show that judge a woman who fought for her child and won. I will. Clara rode home with tears streaming down her face. Relief and fear and desperate hope all tangled together. When she reached the ranch, Nathaniel met her at the door, took one look at her tear-stained face, and pulled her inside. What happened? Mrs. Hartwell's going to testify for us. She what? She believes us, believes our marriage is real. Clara laughed through tears. We have a chance, Nathaniel. We actually have a chance. He held her tight. Told you we'd win. Don't make promises you can't keep. I keep all my promises, Clara. You should know that by now. And standing in his arms, with the afternoon sun slanting through the windows and James's laughter echoing from upstairs, Clara let herself believe it. They had 3 days left. 3 days to prepare. 3 days before everything they'd built either stood strong or crumbled to dust. But they'd face it together. Win or lose, they were family now. And family didn't quit. The morning of the hearing, Clara woke before dawn with her stomach in knots. Beside her, Nathaniel was already awake, staring at the ceiling. Couldn't sleep either, she whispered. Been up since 3. He turned his head to look at her. You ready for this? No, but we're doing it anyway. He reached for her hand under the covers. Their fingers laced together, holding tight. Whatever happens today, don't. Clara cut him off. Don't say goodbye. We're going to win. Clara. We're going to win, Nathaniel. We have to. He pulled her close, buried his face in her hair. They lay like that until pale light crept through the window and James's footsteps pattered down the hall. The courthouse was a squat brick building that smelled like old wood and anxiety. Clara's hands shook as Nathaniel helped her down from the buggy. James clung to her skirts, eyes wide. Mama, I'm scared. Me too, baby. Clara knelt, smoothed his hair. But we're going to be brave together, all right. Will I have to talk to the judge? Maybe. If you do, just tell the truth. Tell him how you feel. I'll tell him I want to stay with you and Pa. Clara's throat closed. That's perfect, sweetheart. Margaret met them at the door, face grim. Marcus arrived an hour ago. He's brought 3 witnesses, a doctor who will testify about proper child rearing, a banker who will speak to his financial stability, and a woman from Kansas who claims to have known Clara during her marriage. Who? Clara's voice sharpened. I don't know anyone who... Mrs. Dorothy Winters says she was your neighbor. The name hit Clara like cold water. She was Thomas's mother's friend. She blamed me when Thomas died, said I didn't care for him properly. Then we'll discredit her. Margaret's jaw set. But Clara, you need to be prepared. Marcus is going to paint you as negligent, as a woman who let her husband die and then ran rather than face responsibility. That's not, I know. But that's the story he'll tell. You'll need to stay calm when you hear it. Nathaniel's arm went around Clara's waist. She won't be alone up there. I'll be right beside her. Actually, you won't. Witnesses testify separately. Margaret looked between them. But you can sit at the gallery. Show the judge a united front. They entered the courtroom. It was smaller than Clara expected. Wooden benches, a raised platform for the judge, tables for the lawyers. Marcus sat at one with his attorney, a silver-haired man in an expensive suit. When Marcus saw them, his smile was triumphant. Clara wanted to claw it off his face. Judge Morrison entered 60, stern-faced with eyes that missed nothing. Everyone rose. Be seated. We're here for the matter of Bennett versus Cross regarding custody of the minor child James Bennett. The judge shuffled papers. Mr. Thornton, you're representing the petitioner. Marcus's lawyer stood. Yes, Your Honor. Marcus Bennett is seeking custody of his nephew on the grounds that the child's mother is unfit and that her recent marriage is fraudulent. Strong accusations. You have evidence. Substantial evidence, Your Honor. If I may call my first witness. Proceed. The doctor was first a pompous man who'd never met James, but had plenty of opinions about proper child rearing. He testified that a 4-year-old needed stability, education, moral guidance that a frontier ranch couldn't provide. And what of the marriage? Thornton asked. Do you find it suspicious that Mrs. Bennett married so quickly after arriving at Mr. Cross's ranch? Highly suspicious. It suggests desperation rather than genuine affection. Margaret cross-examined. Hard got him to admit he'd never seen James, never visited the ranch, was basing everything on Marcus's descriptions. But the damage was done. The banker was worse. He laid out Marcus's financial assets in excruciating detail, house in town, successful business savings that could provide for James's education through college. And Mr. Cross's assets, Thornton prompted. A working ranch, modest income, uncertain prospects, hardly comparable. Objection. Margaret was on her feet. Mr. Cross owns his land free and clear. His ranch is profitable and stable. The witness is mischaracterizing. Sustained. Mr. Thornton, stick to facts. But again the impression lingered. Marcus was rich. Nathaniel was not. Then Dorothy Winters took the stand, and Clara's world tilted. The woman was older than Clara remembered, gray-haired and pinch-mouthed. She looked at Clara with cold disapproval. Mrs. Winters, you knew the deceased Thomas Bennett. I did. Fine man, my dear friend's son. And his wife Clara. I knew her, yes. What was your impression of her as a wife? Dorothy's mouth pursed. Neglectful. Poor Thomas worked himself to exhaustion while she stayed home doing Lord knows what. When he took ill, she didn't even call a doctor until it was too late. Clara's hands fisted. Nathaniel reached from the row behind, squeezed her shoulder. That's a lie, Clara whispered. Margaret silenced her with a look. And after Thomas's death, Thornton continued, she ran, took the boy and disappeared. Didn't even attend the funeral properly. Just vanished like she had something to hide. Something to hide, Thornton repeated. What do you suppose that was? Objection. Speculation. Withdrawn. No further questions. Margaret stood for cross-examination. Mrs. Winters, when did you last actually speak to Mrs. Bennett? At Thomas's funeral. Which you just testified she didn't attend properly. So you didn't actually speak to her. Dorothy flushed. Well, no, but... And you weren't present during Thomas Bennett's illness. No, but I heard... You heard. Gossip, you mean, not facts. Margaret's voice cut like steel. Tell me, Mrs. Winters, did Clara Bennett ever mistreat her son in your presence? I never saw her with the boy much. That's not what I asked. Did you ever witness abuse or neglect? Well, no, but yes or no, Mrs. Winters. No. Thank you. No further questions. But the damage was done. 3 witnesses painting Clara as desperate, negligent, opportunistic. Then it was their turn. Margaret called Hank first. The old ranch hand took the stand, looking uncomfortable in his church clothes. Mr. Johnson, how long have you known Nathaniel Cross? 23 years. Worked for his father before him. And in your opinion, what kind of man is he? Best man I know, honest, hard-working, fair. When his wife died, thought he'd fall apart, but he kept going, kept the ranch running, kept his word to every man who worked for him. And what's your impression of his marriage to Clara? Hank's weathered face softened. That boy James brought the boss back to life. First time in 5 years I seen him smile real. And Mrs. Clara, she's good for him. Good for the whole place. It's a home again, not just a ranch. Do you believe the marriage is legitimate? Yes, ma'am. I surely do. Seen the way they look at each other when they think nobody's watching. That's real. Marcus's lawyer tried to shake him on cross-examination, suggested Hank was loyal to his employer and would say anything, but Hank held firm. I'm loyal because he's worth being loyal to. And that marriage is real because I got eyes in my head. Mrs. Hartwell was next, formidable in purple silk. Mrs. Hartwell, you're acquainted with the Cross family. I am. Known Nathaniel since he was a boy. Attended his first wedding, mourned with him when Sarah passed. And what's your opinion of his current marriage? That it's genuine. I attended their church service, saw them interact. That's not performance. That's a family learning to be together. Even though they married very quickly. My own parents married after a 3-week courtship and were happy for 40 years. Time doesn't determine validity. Commitment does. Thornton tried to suggest she was being sentimental, that her judgment was clouded by fondness for Nathaniel. Mrs. Hartwell stared him down like he was a particularly stupid child. Young man, I've been judging character for 60 years. I know a real marriage when I see one. This is real. Then Margaret called Clara. The walk to the witness stand felt like walking to a gallows. Clara's legs shook, her hands trembled. Judge Morrison looked at her with unreadable eyes. Mrs. Cross, you understand you're under oath? Yes, Your Honor. Then let's begin. Margaret started gentle. Name, age, background. How she met Nathaniel. Why she married him. Clara told the truth, or most of it. She'd been desperate, yes. Nathaniel offered help. They'd married for practical reasons that became real feelings. Do you love your husband? Margaret asked. Clara looked at Nathaniel in the gallery. He sat forward, hands clasped, eyes locked on hers. Yes, I love him. Didn't expect to. Didn't plan to. But I do. And does he love you? Yes. How do you know? Because he shows me every day. The way he cares for James. The way he looks at me. The way he fights for our family, even when it costs him. Clara's voice strengthened. Love isn't just words, it's action. And Nathaniel proves his love every single day. Then Thornton stood for cross-examination and everything went to hell. Mrs. Cross, you testified you didn't plan to fall in love with your husband. So the marriage was initially fraudulent. It was initially practical. Practical. Because you needed protection from my client's custody claim. I needed a home for my son. And conveniently, Mr. Cross needed a wife. How fortunate for you both. Margaret objected, but the judge allowed it. Thornton circled closer. Mrs. Cross, isn't it true you were homeless when you arrived at the Cross Ranch? Yes. Penniless? Yes. Desperate? Yes. So desperate you'd do anything to keep your son. Clara's chin lifted. Yes, I would. Any mother would. Including seducing a lonely widower into a fraudulent marriage. Objection. Margaret was on her feet. Counsel is badgering. Sustained. Mr. Thornton, rephrase. Did you seduce Mr. Cross? No, I married him. There's a difference. Is there? You lived in his house unmarried for a week before the wedding. What was the nature of your relationship during that time? Clara's face heated. I was his employee. Living under his roof. Sleeping in his house. Alone with him at night. With my son present. And Mr. Cross behaved as a gentleman. Until he didn't. Until he proposed marriage. What changed, Mrs. Cross? Marcus threatened to take James. Nathaniel offered protection. So you married him to block my client's custody claim. You just admitted it. I married him because he was willing to fight for my son when no one else would. Clara's voice rose. Because he's a good man who saw a child in danger and chose to help. Because... She stopped, looked at Nathaniel. He was half standing, face-stricken. Because I was falling in love with him and didn't know how to admit it, Clara finished quietly. Even to myself. Silence fell. Thornton recovered first. How convenient that you discovered these feelings right when you needed them legally. Love isn't convenient, Mr. Thornton. It's complicated and messy, and it happens when it happens. But it's real. So you claim. But the timing... The timing was fast, I won't deny that. But fast doesn't mean false. I married Nathaniel Cross because I trust him. Because my son loves him. Because he's the kind of man who keeps his promises even when they're hard. And yes, because I need him. But he needs us too. We're a family. Not perfect, not traditional, but real. Thornton tried a few more questions, but Clara held firm. When she finally stepped down, her legs barely held her. She made it back to her seat. Nathaniel's hand found hers, held tight. You did good, he whispered. I told the truth. I know, that's why it was good. Then Margaret called her final witness. The defense calls James Cross. Clara's heart stopped. No, he's 4 years old, he can't... It'll be brief, Margaret promised. The judge needs to hear from him. James walked to the witness stand on shaking legs. The judge had to adjust the chair so the boy could be seen over the rail. Hello, James. Judge Morrison's voice gentled. I'm Judge Morrison. Do you know why you're here? Uncle Marcus wants to take me away. And how do you feel about that? James's chin wobbled. I don't want to go. I want to stay with Mama and Pa. Pa, you mean Mr. Cross? He's my pa now. He married Mama. That makes him my pa, right? Legally, yes. But James, Mr. Cross has only been your father for a few weeks. Don't you miss your real father? Tears spilled down James's cheeks. I miss Papa every day. He died and it made Mama cry, and we had to leave our house and walk forever, and I got sick, and I thought I was gonna die too. But then Pa found us. He made me better. He makes Mama smile. He's teaching me about horses, and he promised he wouldn't let Uncle Marcus take me. Your Pa promised that? Yes, sir. He said I'm his boy now, and he protects what's his. Judge Morrison leaned forward. James, has Mr. Cross been kind to you? The best. He's patient when I ask too many questions. He doesn't yell. He reads me stories at night. James's voice broke. He said he loves me, and I love him. Please don't make me leave. Please. The courtroom was dead silent. Thank you, James. You can go sit with your mother now. James scrambled down and ran to Clara. She pulled him into her lap, buried her face in his hair. You did so good, baby. So good. Thornton stood. Your Honor, the child is clearly confused. He's been coached. No one coached that boy, Judge Morrison said sharply. I've been on this bench 20 years. I know genuine emotion when I hear it. That child loves Nathaniel Cross. But the marriage is legal, filed properly, witnessed. Whether it started as convenience or romance is irrelevant. It exists, and that child is thriving. The judge looked at Marcus. "Mr. Bennett, do you have children of your own?" Marcus stiffened. "No, Your Honor." "Ever been married?" "No." "But you think you're better suited to raise a 4-year-old than his mother and stepfather?" "I can provide money. Yes, I heard. But can you provide love, stability? A home where that boy is wanted for himself, not for an inheritance." Marcus's face went red. "Your Honor, I've heard enough. I'm ready to rule." Clara's world stopped. Nathaniel's hand crushed hers. James clung to her neck. Judge Morrison shuffled his papers, looked at them each in turn. Marcus, Clara, Nathaniel, James. "This is an unusual case. A rushed marriage, a contested custody claim, questions of motive and legitimacy. But at the end of the day, there's one question that matters: what's in the best interest of this child?" He paused. Clara couldn't breathe. "James Bennett James Cross is 4 years old. He's lost his father, been uprooted from his home, walked across territories while sick. He needs stability, love, a family." "Please," Clara prayed. "Please." "Mr. Bennett, you're a successful man with resources. But you're also a bachelor with no experience raising children. You want custody to control an inheritance, and don't think I didn't notice you never once looked at the boy with affection during these proceedings." Marcus's lawyer whispered urgently. Marcus ignored him, face thunderous. "Mr. and Mrs. Cross, your marriage may have started as convenience. But I watched you in this courtroom. I saw how you look at each other, how you protect that child, how he loves you both without reservation." Judge Morrison's voice softened. "I've seen plenty of marriages that started with love and ended in hate. Sometimes the practical ones last longest because they're built on respect and choice rather than passion that burns out." He picked up his gavel. "I'm ruling in favor of the defendants. Clara Cross retains full custody of her son. The marriage is recognized as legitimate. Mr. Bennett's petition is denied." The gavel fell. For a heartbeat, no one moved. Then Clara sobbed, once broken, relieved. Nathaniel pulled her and James into his arms, holding them both while they shook. "It's over," he said roughly. "You're safe, both of you." "We won." Clara couldn't believe it. "We actually won." Behind them, Marcus exploded. "This is outrageous. She married him to steal my nephew. It's fraud." "It's legal," Judge Morrison said coldly. "And if you continue disrupting my courtroom, I'll hold you in contempt. The ruling stands. This case is closed." Marcus stared at them with pure hatred. Then he turned and stormed out, his lawyer scrambling after him. Clara watched him go and felt 5 years of fear drain away. They'd won. James was theirs. They were a family. Outside the courthouse, Margaret accepted their tearful thanks and headed back to her office. Mrs. Hartwell squeezed Clara's hands and told her she'd done well. Hank clapped Nathaniel on the shoulder and said he knew they'd win. Then they were alone. Clara, Nathaniel, and James, standing in afternoon sunshine that felt brand new. "Can we go home now?" James asked. "I want to see the horses." "Yeah, son." Nathaniel ruffled his hair. "Let's go home." They climbed into the buggy. Clara sat close to Nathaniel, James between them. As they pulled away from town, she looked back once at the courthouse. Marcus stood on the steps watching them leave. His expression promised this wasn't over. But for now, they'd won. For now, they were safe. And Clara would take that, would hold tight to her family and face whatever came next, together. The way home was quiet. James fell asleep against Nathaniel's side, exhausted from the day. Clara watched them, her son and her husband, and felt something settle in her chest. This was real, not the rushed marriage or the desperate bargain. This family they'd fought for. "What are you thinking?" Nathaniel asked quietly. "That I love you. that I'm grateful, that I can't believe we actually won. We won because you were brave, because you stood up there and told the truth. We won because you fought for us, because you kept your promise." Nathaniel's arm went around her shoulders, pulled her close. "Always will, for as long as I'm breathing." They rode in silence for a while. Then Clara said, "Did you mean it? What you told James, that he's yours now?" "Every word. He's my son, not by blood but by choice. And that's enough. More than enough." They reached the ranch as the sun touched the horizon. Home. It was home now, truly. Nathaniel carried James inside, laid him in bed, still sleeping. When he came back down, Clara was waiting. "Nathaniel Cross, I have something to tell you." "Yeah. I meant what I said in that courtroom. I love you, not because you saved us or because I needed protection, but because you're good and kind and you fight for what matters. And you matter to me." Nathaniel crossed to her, cupped her face in his scarred hands. "I love you too, Clara. Didn't think I could feel this way again. Thought that part of me died with Sarah. But you brought me back. You and James. You made me want to live again." He kissed her slow and deep and full of promise. Clara kissed back with everything she had. When they broke apart, both were breathless. "We should probably check on James," Clara said. "Probably." Neither moved. Then upstairs James called out, "Mama, Pa, I had a bad dream." They broke apart laughing. "Duty calls," Nathaniel said. They went upstairs together, crawled into James's small bed on either side of him. He snuggled between them, safe and content. "Tell me a story," he mumbled, "about families." So Nathaniel did. He told James about a boy who lost his papa and thought he'd never be happy again. But then he found a new family, a mama who walked 300 miles to keep him safe, and a pa who chose to love him even when he didn't have to. "And they lived happily ever after?" James asked sleepily. Nathaniel looked at Clara over their son's head, smiled. "Yeah, son, they did." James fell asleep between them. Clara reached across his small body to take Nathaniel's hand. They'd won their fight. They'd earned their family. And whatever came next, whatever storms or challenges or joys, they'd face it together. Because that's what families did. And they were family now. For real. Forever. 3 weeks after the hearing, Clara woke to an empty bed and the smell of smoke. She bolted upright, heart hammering. "Nathaniel." No answer. She threw on a robe and ran downstairs. The kitchen was hazy smoke pouring from the stove where something black and smoking sat in a pan. Nathaniel stood at the sink, scowling at his burnt hands. "What happened?" "Tried to make you breakfast. Failed spectacularly." He glared at the smoking pan. "How the hell do you make eggs not stick?" Clara laughed, couldn't help it. "You use butter, Nathaniel. And you don't walk away from the stove. I was getting coffee. For 30 seconds. How did you—" She looked at the pan and laughed harder. "Did you try to cook them with the shell on? I thought you were supposed to." "Oh my God!" Clara dissolved into giggles, leaning against the counter. "You can birth a calf and mend a fence and break a horse, but you can't cook an egg." "Don't need to cook. Got a wife for that." But his mouth twitched, almost smiling. "Lucky for you, I like your wife." Clara moved to the stove, assessed the damage. "Go wash your hands. I'll make real breakfast." He caught her waist as she passed, pulled her close. "Was trying to do something nice. You've been tired lately." Clara's breath caught. She had been tired, bone-deep exhausted that no amount of sleep seemed to fix, and her stomach had been unsettled for days. "I'm fine, just adjusting to everything." "You sure?" Nathaniel's eyes were concerned. "Maybe we should get the doctor." "I don't need a doctor." Clara kissed him quickly. "I need you to let me make breakfast before James wakes up starving." She shooed him out and set about salvaging the kitchen. But as she worked, her mind churned. The exhaustion, the nausea, the way certain smells made her stomach flip. No, It couldn't be. Could it? They'd been married a month, sharing a bed for 3 weeks. And Nathaniel was he was enthusiastic in his affections once he'd let himself feel again. Clara's hand drifted to her stomach, pressed. If she was pregnant, Nathaniel would be terrified. After losing Sarah and 2 babies, the thought of going through that again. "Mama!" James thundered down the stairs. "Is Pa making breakfast? I smell burning." Pa tried. "Mama's fixing it." Clara forced brightness into her voice. "Go wash up." She'd wait. Make sure before she said anything. No point worrying Nathaniel over nothing. But deep in her gut, Clara knew. Knew the way women have always known. She was carrying Nathaniel Cross's child. A week later, the doctor confirmed it. Clara sat in his office, hands clasped tight, while Dr. Mitchell smiled. "Congratulations, Mrs. Cross. I'd say you're about 6 weeks along. Baby should arrive early spring." "You're certain?" "As certain as I can be. All the signs are there." He closed his notebook. "Given your husband's history, I imagine this news will be difficult. But Mrs. Cross, every pregnancy is different. What happened to Sarah doesn't mean—" "I know." Clara's voice was thin. How do I tell him? Gently, and soon. He deserves to know." Clara rode home in a daze. A baby. Nathaniel's baby. The family they were building would grow, if the pregnancy went well. If she didn't die like Sarah did. If the baby survived. The ifs piled up until Clara could barely breathe. She found Nathaniel in the barn shoeing a horse. He looked up when she entered, smiled that small smile he saved just for her. "How was town?" "Fine." The lie tasted bitter. "Nathaniel, I need to tell you something." His smile faded. "What's wrong?" "Nothing's wrong. At least, I don't think it is. But Clara's courage failed. "Can we sit down?" They sat on hay bales. Nathaniel took her hands, and Clara felt them trembling. "You're scaring me, Clara. Just say it." "I'm pregnant." The words fell like stones into still water. Nathaniel went white. His hands spasmed around hers, grip turning painful before he released her entirely. How long?" 6 weeks. Dr. Mitchell confirmed it today." 6 weeks. Nathaniel stood, paced 3 steps, turned back. "You're sure?" "Yes." "Jesus." He ran both hands through his hair. "Clara, we can't. I know you're scared. I'm scared too. But Nathaniel—" "Scared?" His laugh was jagged. "I'm terrified. Sarah died, Clara. My son died. I can't go through that again. I won't survive it." "You don't know that it'll happen again. And you don't know it won't." Nathaniel's voice rose. "What if something goes wrong? What if I lose you? Then you'll have James, and you'll keep going same as I did when Thomas died." Clara stood cross to him. "But we can't live our whole lives afraid of what might happen." "I can't lose you." His voice broke. "Clara, I can't." "You won't. I'm strong. I'm healthy. This pregnancy will be different." "You don't know that." "No. But I have faith. In us. In this baby." She took his face in her hands. "We're going to have a child, Nathaniel. Our child. That's a blessing, not a curse. It'll be a blessing if you survive it. If the baby survives it. If—" He pulled away, turned his back. "I need time. To think. To just time." He walked out of the barn, leaving Clara standing alone with one hand on her stomach and tears burning her eyes. That night, Nathaniel didn't come to bed. Clara lay awake listening for his footsteps, but they never came. Near dawn, she finally slept. When she woke, James was curled against her side. "Mama, where's Pa?" "Working baby." "He didn't read me a story last night. He was busy." But James's face crumpled. "Did I do something wrong?" "No, sweetheart. Never." Clara pulled him close. Pause just, he's working through something. He'll be back. Promise. Clara thought of Nathaniel's stricken face the way he'd walked away. I hope so. 3 days passed. Nathaniel worked from before dawn until after dark, coming in only for meals that he ate in silence. At night, Clara heard him moving around downstairs, never coming up. On the 4th day, Clara had enough. She found him in the barn at midnight, sitting in the hayloft with a half-empty whiskey bottle. Hiding won't change anything, she said. Not hiding. Thinking. For 4 days. That's a lot of thinking. Clara climbed up, sat beside him. Talk to me, Nathaniel. What's there to say you're pregnant? I'm terrified. That about covers it. You're also angry. I'm not. He stopped, laughed bitterly. Yeah, I'm angry. At myself for getting you pregnant. At God for putting us in this position. At Sarah for dying and making me this broken. You're not broken. I can't even be happy about my own child. What does that make me? Human. Clara's hand found his. Nathaniel, I'm scared too. Every woman who's lost someone in childbirth carries that fear. But I can't let it stop me from living, from loving, from wanting this baby. I want it too. His voice cracked. That's what kills me. I want this child so much it hurts. Want to meet them, hold them, watch them grow. But the thought of losing you to get there, Clara. I'd rather have no child at all than lose you. You won't lose me. You can't promise that. No. But I can promise I'll fight. I can promise I'll do everything right. See the doctor rest when I need to let you take care of me. And I can promise that no matter what happens, I love you. This baby is proof of that. Proof that we're real. Nathaniel was quiet for a long time. Then slowly his hand covered her stomach. Pressed. How far along? 7 weeks now. That's so small. They'll grow. By spring, they'll be here. Spring. Nathaniel's eyes closed. I have 7 months to prepare for the worst day of my life or the best. I don't know which. Maybe both. Maybe neither. Maybe somewhere in between. Clara covered his hand with hers. But Nathaniel, I need you here. Not hiding in the barn. I need my husband. What if I can't do this? Can't watch you go through pregnancy knowing what might happen? Then you do it scared. You stay anyway. You hold my hand, and you pray, and you love this baby even while you're terrified. Clara's voice strengthened. That's what being a father means. Loving someone so much it scares you. You already do it with James. James didn't almost kill you coming into the world. No. He almost died himself, and you saved him. You're good at saving people, Nathaniel Cross. Try saving yourself this time, from the fear. He pulled her into his arms, buried his face in her hair. I'm sorry. For running. For leaving you alone with this. You're here now. That's what matters. I love you, and I love this baby. Even scared, I love them. I know. So come back to bed. Be my husband again. We'll face this together. Nathaniel nodded against her shoulder. They climbed down from the loft and walked to the house hand in hand. That night he held her close and whispered prayers into the dark, for her safety, for the baby's health, for courage to face what came. And Clara prayed too. For all of them. The pregnancy progressed. Clara's stomach rounded. The sickness passed. By fall she was visibly showing, and James was fascinated. There's really a baby in there. Really, truly. Can I talk to them? Of course. James pressed his ear to Clara's stomach. Hello, baby. I'm your brother James. You better be nice to Mama or you'll answer to me. Nathaniel laughed, the first real laugh since learning about the pregnancy. That's right, son. You protect your mama. Always. James kissed Clara's stomach. I'll protect the baby too. That's what big brothers do. Clara's eyes burned. This was what family meant. But as fall turned to winter, complications started. Clara woke one December morning to spotting. She lay in bed staring at the blood and felt her world crack. "Nathaniel." Her voice barely worked. "Nathaniel, wake up." He jolted awake, saw her face went rigid. "What's wrong?" "I'm bleeding." He was out of bed in seconds, pulling on clothes. "How much?" "Not much, just spotting, but—" "I'm getting the doctor, don't move." He was already running. Clara lay still, one hand on her stomach, and prayed harder than she'd ever prayed in her life. Dr. Mitchell arrived within the hour. He examined Clara while Nathaniel paced outside wearing a track in the floor. Finally, the doctor emerged. "She's all right. The baby's all right. This happens sometimes. But Mrs. Cross needs complete bed rest for the next 2 weeks. No getting up except for necessities." "Done." Nathaniel's voice was hoarse. "Whatever she needs. And Mr. Cross, try not to worry her. Stress makes these things worse." After the doctor left, Nathaniel sat on the bed and took Clara's hand. "You scared me." "I scared myself." "I can't lose you, Clara. I can't." "You won't. The doctor said we're fine. I just need to rest." "Then you'll rest. I'll take care of everything. You just focus on staying healthy." And he did. For 2 weeks, Nathaniel ran the ranch, cared for James, brought Clara meals in bed, and sat with her every night holding her hand. James helped too, reading his simple books to his mama, and the baby telling them stories about the ranch. Slowly, the spotting stopped. Clara's strength returned. By Christmas, she was back on her feet with strict orders not to overdo it. Christmas morning, James woke them at dawn. "Mama, Pa, it's Christmas, can we open presents?" They gathered around the small tree Nathaniel had cut. James got a wooden horse he'd been wanting. Clara received a beautiful shawl Nathaniel had ordered from town. And Nathaniel opened Clara's gift, a small knitted blanket. "For the baby," Clara said softly. "I made it during bed rest." Nathaniel stared at the tiny blanket, then at Clara, then at her rounded stomach. Slowly he knelt and pressed his ear to her belly. "Hello in there," he whispered. "I'm your pa, and I'm trying not to be scared, trying to believe you're going to be all right. Both of you." The baby kicked. Nathaniel's head snapped up, eyes wide. "Did you feel that?" Clara laughed. "They heard you." He pressed his hand where the kick had been. Waited. Another kick, stronger. "They're strong," Nathaniel said, wonder in his voice. "Clara, they're strong. They're a cross. Of course they're strong." For the first time since learning about the pregnancy, Nathaniel smiled without fear behind it. "Yeah, they are." Winter deepened. Clara grew larger. The baby kicked constantly, now active and healthy, and Nathaniel slowly let himself hope. He built a cradle, beautiful work carved with care. Set it in their bedroom where he could see it every day. He talked to Clara's stomach at night, telling the baby about the ranch, about their brother James, about all the things they'd do together. He even started smiling when people asked about the baby instead of going pale with fear. "You're getting better," Clara said one evening. "Better at what?" "At believing we'll be all right, that this will work." Nathaniel's hand rested on her stomach, feeling the baby move. "I'm trying. Some days are easier than others. But Clara, when I feel them kick, when I see how strong you are, yeah, I'm starting to believe." "Good. Because this baby's coming whether you're ready or not." "I'll never be ready, but I'll be here. That's all I can promise." "That's all I need." The baby came on a cold March night. Clara's water broke during supper. She looked down at the puddle, then at Nathaniel. "It's time." He went white, stood, sat back down, stood again. "Nathaniel, breathe." "I'm breathing. I'm fine." Are you fine?" "I'm in labor, not dying. Get the doctor." "Right, doctor. Hank." Nathaniel bellowed. "Hank." The old ranch hand appeared. Boss. Get Dr. Mitchell, now. The baby's coming. Hank took off at a run. Nathaniel turned back to Clara, who was gripping the table through a contraction. What do I do? Tell me what to do. Help me upstairs, then get James to Mrs. Hartwell's. He doesn't need to see this. Right. Upstairs, James. I can do that. He got Clara settled in bed, then found James reading in his room. Son, the baby's coming. You're going to stay with Mrs. Hartwell tonight. Can't I stay? I want to meet the baby. You will. Tomorrow. Tonight you stay in town. All right? James's face fell, but he nodded. Tell Mama I love her. And the baby. I will, son. By the time Nathaniel got back, Clara's contractions were 5 minutes apart. Dr. Mitchell arrived soon after, took one look, and started organizing. Mr. Cross, I need hot water, clean linens, and you need to stay calm. I'm calm. You're shaking. I'm calm and shaking. The labor lasted through the night. Clara bore it with gritted teeth, and Nathaniel's hand crushed in hers. Every cry of pain drove a spike through his heart. Every contraction made him remember Sarah bleeding and dying while he stood helpless. I can't do this, he said at one point. Clara, I can't watch. Yes, you can. Her voice was strained but firm. You promised to be here. So be here. He stayed, held her hand, whispered encouragement, prayed every prayer he knew. As dawn broke, the baby crowned. One more push, Mrs. Cross. That's it. Push. Clara bore down with everything she had. Nathaniel held her, supported her, and when the baby slid free with a wail, he sobbed. It's a girl, doctor, Mitchell announced. Healthy lungs on this one. He cleaned the baby, wrapped her, and placed her in Clara's arms. She was perfect. Tiny and red and screaming, but perfect. A daughter, Clara breathed. Nathaniel, we have a daughter. He couldn't speak, could only stare at this miracle. His wife alive, his daughter crying, both of them safe. Mr. Cross, would you like to hold her? Nathaniel nodded, not trusting his voice. Dr. Mitchell transferred the baby to his arms. She was so small. Impossibly small. Dark hair. Clara's nose, his own stubborn chin already forming. Hello, little one, he whispered. I'm your pa. And I love you. Lord help me. I love you so much. The baby's cries quieted. She looked up at him with unfocused eyes, and Nathaniel's heart cracked wide open. She's beautiful, he said. Clara, she's beautiful. She is. What should we name her? They'd discussed names but never settled on one. Too afraid to pick something for a baby that might not survive. But she was here. She was real. Hope, Nathaniel said. Her name is Hope. Hope Cross. Clara smiled through tears. Perfect. Dr. Mitchell finished checking Clara, pronounced her healthy and healing well, and left them alone with their daughter. Nathaniel sat on the bed beside his wife holding their baby and let himself feel it all. The fear that had haunted him for months, the love overwhelming everything else, the gratitude that they'd survived. Thank you, he said roughly, for being strong enough, for surviving, for giving me this. We did it together, like everything else. Clara leaned against him. Our family's complete now. Not quite. Still need to bring James home to meet his sister. They fetched James that afternoon. He burst through the door, eyes wide. Where's the baby? Can I see? Is Mama okay? Mama's fine. Come meet your sister. James tiptoed to the bed, where Clara sat propped up, Hope in her arms. This is Hope, Clara said. Your baby sister. James stared with round eyes. Then carefully, so carefully, he touched Hope's tiny hand. Her fingers curled around his. She's holding me. Wonder filled his voice. Mama, she's holding my hand. She knows you're her big brother. I'll protect her, forever and ever. I promise. James looked at Nathaniel. Right, Pa. That's what brothers do. That's exactly what brothers do, son. That night, after James was asleep and Hope was fed and settled in her cradle, Nathaniel and Clara lay in bed and listened to their daughter's soft breathing. I can't believe we did it, Nathaniel said. Made a family from nothing. Not nothing, from need, from choice, from love, from desperation and a practical arrangement. That became everything. Clara turned to face him in the dark. I love you, Nathaniel Cross. I love the life we built. I love our children. I love waking up beside you. I love that you kept every promise you made. I love you too, more than I thought possible. His hand found hers under the covers. You saved me, Clara, brought me back to life when I'd given up, gave me a family when I thought I'd never have one, made me believe in second chances. We saved each other. That's how this works. Yeah. He pulled her close, careful of her healing body. We did. In the cradle, Hope stirred and settled. Across the hall, James slept peacefully, and Nathaniel Cross, who'd spent 5 years alone and broken, held his wife and counted his blessings. A woman who'd walked 300 miles and taught him how to live again. A son who'd claimed him as father without hesitation. A daughter who represented hope in every sense. And a ranch that was finally truly a home. The morning after Hope's birth, Nathaniel found Clara at the window, baby in her arms, looking out at the prairie. What are you thinking about? He asked. About how far we've come, from that first day when I collapsed at your gate to now. It feels impossible. It was impossible. We did it anyway. Clara smiled. We did. Built a family from ashes. Made something real from something desperate. You regret any of it? The rushed marriage, the fight with Marcus, any of it? Not for a second. Do you? Nathaniel looked at his wife. His daughter thought of his son sleeping upstairs. Not a single second. This you, the kids, this life, it's everything I didn't know I needed. Forever, and then some? Clara asked, echoing the promise they'd made to James. Forever, and then some, Nathaniel confirmed. And standing there in the morning light with his family around him, Nathaniel Cross knew something with absolute certainty. He was exactly where he was meant to be, with exactly the people he was meant to love, living exactly the life he was meant to live. He'd found his second chance, and he'd never let it go.